Not to brag, but I've cracked the code to the next Trump administration. Every day since the election, we've seen new Unhinged nominations. But after 2 months of tireless research, I have finally identified a pattern. 3 traits that unite a frankly concerning number of Trump nominees: alleged sex abuser, alleged animal abuser, and Fox News. And before you say, Kat, you're exaggerating, no, I'm not. And I made a graph to prove it.
Look at this graph!
As you can see, this is a triple Venn diagram with some of Trump's most controversial picks. I made it after noticing multiple nominees had killed a dog, and the other pieces just kind of fell into place. So I'm going to break down the backgrounds of a few of these nominees. But before I do, a few notes. This is not an exhaustive list. I simply do not have the sanity to go through every single Trump nominee and appointment. And finally, a lot of these people still need to be confirmed. They are nominees, not yet in the position. But for this video, I'll be operating as if they've already been confirmed for 2 reasons. 1, Republicans have the Senate. And 2, to even be nominated with these track records is completely batshit. So I want to start with our least depressing category, and my specialty, Fox News. Once again, this is not an exhaustive list. If I included every person in the Trump administration who has ever been a Fox guest, this video would be like 5 hours. So everyone I've chosen has either been paid by or has a very significant connection to Fox News. Like our future Secretary of Transportation. Sean Duffy is an MTV alum and Fox host who's married to another MTV alum and Fox host. Before he started at Fox, he was a Wisconsin congressman, and now he's going to be our Secretary of Transportation. Now you might be wondering about his qualifications in this field, and to that I'd say, probably that he loves fossil fuels and alternative science. He also blames Boeing's failures on DEI rather than shoddy cuts made by the company's C-suite. Now our Director of National Intelligence will be Tulsi Gabbard. Gabbard was a Democratic congresswoman from Hawaii, but then she realized you can make a lot more money as a right-wing culture war grifter, so she did that instead. Tulsi was already dabbling in the Fox News sphere even before she completely disowned the Democratic Party.
First question, is this America?
But now she's an official Fox News contributor, often standing in as the liberal voice on the 5, despite being a registered Republican who endorsed Trump at the RNC. Gabbard also has a lot of other suspect ties, like her coziness with Assad, her penchant for Hindu nationalism, and her tendency to be a Russian asset, just to name a few. Speaking of good security, Florida Congressman Mike Waltz will be our national security advisor. He's been a paid Fox contributor since 2017, just 1 year before he became a congressman. But Waltz isn't just any Fox News contributor. He's been on the channel over 550 times. And since January 2023, he's been on Fox more than any other congressperson. Now this man, and he is in fact a man, not a sourdough starter, is Tom Homan. Homan is going to be our border czar. He's also been a Fox contributor since 2018, 2 months after he stepped down as Trump's acting ICE director. The most important thing to know about Homan is he is rock hard for mass deportations. And if he has his way, those will include legal US citizens. But our Fox buddies aren't just taking fear-centered positions. They're also running our nation's health. The Surgeon General is going to be Fox medical contributor and somehow doctor Jeanette Neshwat. She spent the pandemic pushing quack COVID treatments and vaccine skepticism on air. Similarly, Marty Makary will run the FDA. He's a Fox contributor and perma-guest on Laura Ingram's show. I am also confused about how he's a doctor. Once again, almost everyone in the Trump administration is tied to Fox News in some way. Guest, contributor, host, buddy, affair partner. I just don't have time to include them all. But here are a few other notable paid Fox alumni who have been nominated to work in this administration. I'm also probably missing some people for this second category: alleged sexual predators. Let's start with the president. You might have heard, but President-elect Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse by a New York jury last year. And that is just one of many, many, many allegations against the man. He was also a notable buddy of Jeffrey Epstein, even while president, and was caught on tape bragging about grabbing women by their, you know. So it's no wonder he'd want to employ more of his own kind, allegedly. Now, to be fair, Gates has rescinded his attorney general nomination after a smear campaign by the liberal media who reported on things he had done. Disgusting. But the fact that he was nominated in the first place is frankly insane. Putting his most unhinged beliefs aside, Gates was the subject of a federal investigation into child sex trafficking just 5 years ago. He wasn't charged because prosecutors thought they wouldn't get a conviction because of the credibility of 2 key witnesses. But that didn't stop the House Ethics Committee from launching a probe into Gates' conduct. They released the report a couple of weeks ago and found that Gates broke Florida laws in drug use, prostitution, and statutory rape. Oh, and he also paid at least $90,000 to 11 women and one teenage girl. We love Law and Order, don't we, folks? But alleged predators in the next Trump administration won't be limited to just men. Linda McMahon is nominated to lead the Department of Education, and she is a trailblazer in this field. As you might have guessed, Linda is married to Vince McMahon. They founded the WWE together, they ran it together, and they covered up unspeakable crimes together. A power couple for the ages. Now, Vince has been accused of crimes so horrific that I think my channel would get taken down if I described them. And even though they reportedly separated in 2022, Linda is complicit in years of that abuse. But she also took on an active role. Most notably, Linda was instrumental in covering up the abuse of young boys by WWE personnel in what will later be known as the Ring Boy scandal. Aren't you glad she's gonna run our schools? But don't worry, abuse in this administration won't be just limited to people. For example, notable Pennsylvania resident Mehmet Oz killed 300 dogs and an entire litter of puppies in a trash bag. He's supposed to run Medicare and Medicaid, by the way. Kristi Noem, of course, shot her own dog. She's gonna run the Department of Homeland Security, so keep your pets inside. And Pam Bondi, our new AG pick to replace Matt Gaetz, once adopted a dog that was separated from its family after Hurricane Katrina, and then when the family finally located him, refused to return the dog. Bondi did finally give him back, but only after a 16-month legal battle, which is exactly what Hurricane Katrina survivors needed on top of, everything else. Now we've gotten through the three main categories, but remember, I did say this was a Venn diagram, and that means overlap. Like Pete Hegseth. He's supposed to be our new Secretary of Defense, despite the entire defense world asking, who the fuck is this guy after his nomination? Well, he's a Fox host and Army veteran, but more importantly, a Fox host. He also hosted the Patriot Awards.
Golden Corral and Camping World, thank you very much for sponsoring this event.
Oh, and he allegedly assaulted a woman and then paid her off. Now, Hegseth claims this was blackmail, but I'm not inclined to believe him, especially considering the woman filed a police report and got a rape kit done in 2017. But combined with his documented drinking problem, personal issues, and general shitty takes, I think he's a shoo-in for confirmation. Now, Elon Musk also fits into two of these categories. He's supposed to run the new Department of Government Efficiency alongside Vivek Ramaswamy because, efficiency. But I feel like even with all the cringy and outrageous things he does, we often forget that Musk is an alleged sex pest. He's been accused of harassing a flight attendant and seeking sexual relations with his own employees. In fact, he apparently repeatedly asked one employee who reported to him directly if he could impregnate her. Additionally, 8 fired employees have sued Musk for sexual harassment. But you can't keep Musk in one box. He's too smart for that. That's why his company Neuralink reportedly killed about 1,500 animals between 2018 and 2022. Employees describe Neuralink animal testing as a hack job, partly due to Musk's intense time pressure. But luckily, it'll all be worth it, because one day, you too can put the exploding car guy's chip in your brain. I'm sure that'll go great. And now we've come back full circle to former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. You might remember him from my video about his Christian nationalist homeschooling program, but he's also a current Fox contributor, former Fox host, and his son killed a dog. I'm 25, but I feel ancient when I say this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up his 2008 campaign. The dead dog was a whole thing. But there is one man who makes all of these people look like amateurs. And that is Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. First off, he used Fox as a massive launch pad for his presidential campaign. But RFK also fits squarely in our other two circles. When he recently faced allegations of assaulting his babysitter in the 90s, Kennedy's response was, "I'm not a church boy," and that he doesn't remember. And as we learned last year, Kennedy is an aficionado of fucking with dead animals. There's an entire section on his wiki literally titled Treatment of Dead Animals. This has been a lifelong hobby for Kennedy. When he was younger, he used to feed his prized falcon the rotting remains of animal carcasses. And of course, as an adult, he placed a dead bear cub in Central Park and also severed a dead whale's head with a chainsaw to put on top of his car. What can I say? He's a Renaissance man. Now, I do want to be a little bit fair to this administration because our government is huge. It would make sense that a few people in these categories would slip through. But it's weird that there are enough of high profile, notable people that I can make this chart in the first place. At the very least, there shouldn't be multiple instances of overlap, especially for some of the most important positions in the entire country. And when so many of these people are unqualified with very little to no experience in the field they're supposed to lead, I start wondering if these are the qualifications in the first place. Because all of this is starting to look like a feature rather than a bug. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your patience as I took last month off. I've got a lot of fun, horrifying stuff planned for this month and this year. If you want to support my work, you can sign up for my Patreon for just $1 a month. Every day I post a new exclusive picture of my cat, and she is very cute. You can also follow me on these sites. Happy New Year, y'all. 2025 is gonna be a mess, so let's get through it together.